Good
Hani
morning.
Hani Washington. I'm Betty Washington to all the listeners out there. I'm kind of looking forward to really talk. Oh, there's just so much I want to say about my topic here of walking in two worlds. But first of all, let me say a little short prayer here, and then we will get started. Tunkasila ang petua elake uhina shimpiro. Makasi Dominia, Wachiki, yeah, wow, we are in trying times today, so I send my prayers throughout the land. I know we have challenges, and we are at a weak point in our lives with so many things happening nationwide. So I ask all of us to stay in prayer and to know that we face our everyday challenges, but that we may have some good coping skills. And I hope that we are blessed, that you touch each and every one of us to know that we can look up to you and to know that you take care of all of us in your own way. Hope to Good morning, everybody. I wanted to. Actually, I had my early morning laugh because I was, staying up late, trying to get my thoughts together because I have so much I want to say about the mental aspect of coping in two worlds or walking in two worlds. And the first thing I see, dear friend Chad had posted a posting this morning that says, "Don't adapt to the energy in the room. Influence the energy in the room." And I kind of had a chuckle at that because I thought to myself, "Oh boy, did I adapt!" But the way I pretty much could influence my own self is to stay by myself. So I kind of had to laugh about that one. Is sometimes like our solitude time. For me, what works for me is just allowing myself to think that I'm in my own sacred space, and that's how I cope with everyday life stressors and walking in two worlds, because that could be a heavy duty thing for people that do walk in two worlds. We grow up with the different beliefs that we have, and especially me, looking at my life of 68 years and knowing what I grew up with, my language and the values, the good values, and knowing the challenges that I face because things are so different in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically was, a good, it put a smile on my face. But like I had said so many times, for some of the listeners that have listened to me, I thank you again, because this is a way we can get an understanding and awareness of where each and every one of us, every individual, I think, we don't know what's going on in people's lives and their minds, and we just got to be kind to one another, and try to open our minds and our hearts to all. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and start off with that. But I think I stand strong again with my life, and again, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my personal experiences and how I deal with and how I see things, the way I perceive the world and my time and the way I function. And one of the things that I would say is I make a deliberate choice to protect myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually by choosing how I deal with a lot of things that I have faced, in my lifetime. And I think I'm okay at this time in my life to know that I can't change things, and that's just one of the things, is how do we influence people is through awareness, talking about your life experiences, because we can't fully understand what each and every one of us goes through with our own personal experiences. So today I kind of want to focus on my mental aspect of living in two worlds. And I think I just I think I had said before the negativity of growing up and always on daily basis, and sometimes you go down that road, your little journey of knowing that that you're okay, but there's always that scab that comes off of a wound when you see something, and again, a prime example of the recent tweet by President Bush, saying, making a negative remark about.
You mean President Trump, Chewy?
Yes, President Trump. About Wounded Knee and little Bighorn. For a lot of us, I don't think people understand, that those little scabs, sometimes the wound is open. That's what happens to me every day, on some occasions, to know that I could say that I'm doing okay, but walking in two worlds, there is still a lot of healing that needs to be done. And for me, I always say, I think I'm okay, but yet at the same time, when something happens like this, it's a constant reminder that how do I deal with this in today's world? My eldest son and I had a real good discussion the other day in regards to the arrogance that we live in today of people not really knowing each other, and he made a good a metaphor of people looking through a glass jar. He says, one of the cannon jars, that all our perceptions are pretty much diluted, and I think living in two worlds gives me that insight of my thoughts being diluted, because I teeter back and forth, and I think a lot of part of it is what keeps me strong is really knowing for the fact that two words that I hang on to is blihechia. As I always hear my dad and my mom saying that, blihechia, stay strong. And then the other word is itushika. No matter what, you're going to get over this. So in my life, as I look and I see, sometimes I analyze, and process what I've been through, and boy, believe me, I don't know how I can function, but yet, again, I believe in my lifetime that everything that I have encountered is my cultural beliefs and my perception and what I've been taught, and to stay with prayer, because that gives us the faith and the hope to carry on. But I wanted to go ahead and talk a little about the social cultural challenges that I face every day, and one of the things that I wanted to say is, when we say we see and we view things, it's not only with our eyes and with our minds, but it goes deeper than that. It's your whole spirit. And I had posted something on my Facebook about the realm of the spirit is so vast and so much bigger than one man. And I really like that, and I'm going to end that with at the end of my show is reading what I had posted, and I hope that some of you had seen this, because some of the things that touch me and keep me going are some of these little postings. But in one aspect of me walking in two worlds, that I kind of wrote down some of the pros and cons of living in two worlds. Mm-hmm. And it's challenging every day. I had one coworker, kind of made me think that, yes, I am blessed to know that I know my heritage, I know my culture, whereas he didn't. He was a black man. He doesn't know his ancestry. He doesn't even know where he came from. Mm-hmm. So when you look at other people and you're dealing with other people, it makes me realize that, you know what, I may not have much, I may not have, but my spirit is strong. Mm-hmm. And I just, I think, for for one aspect, Denise, you have been around Barbara and I and our family and everything. And I just want you to know, from your own perspective, how do you view us functioning?
Well, I think that the way that you just put it, functioning in two worlds, is the perfect way to put it because one of the most beautiful things about Native American people is that you are living on the country that gave birth, or on the land that gave birth to your people, or that your people came to from the beginning. And most everyone else does not. So your love of the land and the history of the land itself, the sounds, the smells, the creatures, it's the soul of the land is part of you, and you're walking with it. And in history, then, other people arrived at the shores here on Grandmother, Turtle Island. And, for myself, not being a Lakota woman, I can say that there's almost like a fracture in the soul connected to the land. And I think that that's why so many people do Ancestry.com these days, to find out the soil of their origin, where it is, what it's about, the animals, etc., the sounds, the music. And because of the influence of other people coming to this country, those that were here in the beginning have had to deal with those influences. And sometimes they are so diametrically opposed to the soul of Native America, particularly, I believe, the teaching of we are all related. Because one thing I've learned in all of my years out in Native America with my Hunka family is that the elders I absolutely love, because they'll always say, oh, they're too young to understand that everybody is related and we're related to everything. Treat everybody with respect. And that, as we know, is not necessarily the case for everybody. It's not the case for everybody in Native America either. Let's face it. But the old elders, will say we are related to everything, and that's the primal teaching. And there's a real disenfranchisement from that. So people are enamored with the way that Native Americans that are walking the Red Road will look at the animals as their relatives, the trees as their relatives, spirit as relative. And for a lot of people, that is a foreign concept and frankly scary. And it causes problems for those that worship at the altar of industrialization or materialism.
Exactly.
And so that's a lot.
I think, for the cultural aspect of the social cultural part is, we believe in the natural laws, the universal laws.
Yes.
And we see our worldview is pretty much different than what we know of what happens in our surroundings, because, like you said, everything we believe, everything is connected. And I think we take it deeper to know that there is a symbol for everything. Everything has a meaning, and it's teaching us.
Yes.
I think one of the things that, like, for example, I can probably say what we can look at as what we were taught as a young person is looking at an eagle feather. To people, just a feather. But to us, it signifies, that one feather can signify our life's journey when we look at it. The stem is us. The black and white color of it is there is a bad and a good in it, and every fiber of that eagle feather is your experiences of your journey in life. And then there's a portion of the halves, there's male and female, the good and bad, So we go deeper. We go deeper into the thought of life.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the things that we were taught. And so when we're thrust into a foreign environment and being told that it's not, hey, no, you're not, and I remember growing up, in fact, I was telling my kids, I remember sitting in an 8th grade class and saying that Native Americans' brains are smaller. I think I had mentioned that last time.
Yeah.
Is that we would never amount to much, and that stigma, sticks with a lot of us. We're never ever good, and I had to work through that whole process. But I always remember seeking the answer when my dad said, "You're just as good as anybody else. Your blood runs red, your heart beats like anybody else, but you got to apply yourself." And that was the hardest thing to do, because no matter how you tried to function in this life, in two worlds, you're always knocked down. That's the way I felt. The religion part of life, to me, I guess that's part of the, in society, how they view our religion. It's not religion. What we do and what we say, it's ceremonies and our spirituality. And so when you look at religion and the organized religion, I pretty much kind of turned away. I would probably say that I would respect going into a church and listening, and formulate my own opinion of what I heard.
Right.
But I will not go into organized religion, because my whole thought process was that Bible did not belong to us. The good words are in there, but maybe it was for another culture, another people over there,
Yeah.
And so when they tried to shove that down our throats, as history tells it, with what they called the black robe, when they first came in, and they were telling us, you are heathens, it surprises you, or I guess you think about, some of that stuff is, why are we bad?
Yeah.
So those are some of the contentions that I have in my life with spirituality. And the social organization as we have it, with the family structures, the thing that we knew that we were all there. We were all there for each other. We all helped each other. There was, people supported one another in the days that I remember. And it's not that way anymore. And I have to question that a lot of times. Where did we go wrong? The whole concept of it takes a village to raise a child. Well, that was Native American, the way I grew up. All the aunts and aunties and everybody always guided the child.
Right. Absolutely.
It doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
So I have to think. I think a lot of times in my solitude time, I just really think, how can I be influence again, like Ted? How can I influence people? But then again, we are. The arrogance of life itself, ego plays a lot. Is I'm for me, I. In today's world, and that's one of the things I cannot understand. Maybe I never will.
Right.
The materialism of the world, is the simple life that we knew it, living off the land, taking as much as you need, you kill an animal to feed yourself, but you don't go and slaughter the whole herd.
Right. Exactly.
And I think the values have changed so much in today's society, and I have to look, even with my own family, my children and everything, is what I say and what I try to teach them. Oh no, well, it's us. And I have to think about that as, okay, I have to understand that they're on their own journeys, that they have to learn their own way. But do they not pick up some of the things I'm trying to tell them?
Right.
That's what's wrong in today's society.
Right. Well, what I've noticed too, in other countries now, because all people begin as tribal people around the world. And so everyone comes from a clan, everyone comes from a tribe or a community with their own spirituality, with their own belief and interactions with the world around them. And more people are going back to that. In Iceland, there's now a temple to Odin, Thor, and Frey. and it's highly utilized and people love it. People gather there, and other countries are doing very much the same, whether we're talking about solstice celebrations at Stonehenge or Day of the Dead in Mexico. All of the indigenous celebrations of people around the world are coming back to life, and people are rejoicing in that and going back to some of those teachings. And don't you believe, you're an elder, you are an indigenous elder, that people around the world in a lot of ways are feeling like they're now walking in two worlds, the world of their soul and the world of physicality, and wanting to retrieve what was lost there as well. How do you feel about that?
I guess I never really thought about that. I know there were some instances that I had people come, and mainly right now I think it's an eye opener, and as it should be. There's we have no concept of time, but then yet at the same time you think there's a reason why you're put in a spot to give that information or to learn about yourself too, because my work right now has really enlightened me to know how people are gravitating towards knowing about themselves, and to know how I deal with it, and I think the thing about it is that something that's coming back, where you say is people are looking at themselves and hoping that, how would you say, I think the craving and the need to know about themselves is so important nowadays because of the gloom over our nation here with what's happening in politics.
Yeah.
I think people are really opening up their eyes. Because we're contending with with the politicians that are trying to build a border, but yet at the same time, why just the South? This is indigenous land all the way from the south to the north, but yet at the same time, the other three borders, they don't care about. We have a lot of other people coming in, and of course, the land of the free, supposedly, the Statue of Liberty was a significant symbology of people wanting to come here to find freedom. And yet at the same time, the other coin of it, of saying, why are you turning people away now? Selective exclusion of some people, and I've lived that because I felt that through all my life, is to say I thought indigenous people of this land was selectively excluded. Nobody acknowledged us, in any realm. But I also had to look at that, when you talk about movie stars or the singers and the athletes that are picked, I thought there was a selective exclusion there. But yet at the same time, I had to understand, we were quiet, humble people. We didn't want ourselves to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
So that was the understanding that I had, and now I think I have probably about 4 young people at work that always come and sit with me at lunchtime. Oh, they ask so many questions, and it makes me happy because they don't learn this. The whole thing is not in the classrooms. I just read there is only 27 states in the United States that teach Native American history in the classroom in high school.
Wow.
Now, when you think about that, how many people out there do not know of the indigenous people of this land? There's still questions about, the whole thing about it is a stereotype, and we're drunk Indians, and we will always be drunk Indians. There's really not anything good, because they hear all this. We have problems of poverty and everything else, and they don't see the good side.
Right.
They don't see the ceremony. So those are just some of the challenges that I have in my life, is to say, how do we get that awareness out there to know that, you know what, there's good and bad in everybody. There's good and bad in every society, just like I was saying about the eagle feather. You know, it's telling us there's good and bad in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, the whole part of the values, you know, like again, you know, for me, just to let everybody know, you know, I think that I have actually realized that I have found me to know that I will stand strong with what I was taught from the beginning of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the pros and cons in today's world, you know, of how I live. You know, the cons, like I had just talked about the exclusion. I had felt the exclusion of me as well as my people in society. Mm-hmm. You know, there was hardly any doctors, there was hardly any teachers, you know, nobody really saw. But then, you know, as you read Facebook and people are really looking, yes, there was doctors way back in the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. Nobody acknowledged, you know, that there was intelligent, smart Native Americans.
Right.
All we were drunk Indians.
Right.
The prejudice or the negative stereotyping is still out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is that. And, you know, my son Colton, you've met Colton. Mm-hmm. His new lady friend is tribally enrolled up north. And when I asked her why she chose to be tribally enrolled later in life as from the Sault Ste. Marie tribe, or band, she said, because when I heard my grandmother talking about the shame of being Native American, I wanted to prove to her that there's everything to be proud of. And so becoming tribally enrolled showed my grandmother just how proud I am of being Native American, where she had spent 80 years of being ashamed.
Oh, wow.
And there's an example of it right there, Chue.
Yeah, and that's what they say in regards to you know, being shame-based. I lived through that too, mm-hmm. you know, and I think we're kind of coming up on time. But again, you know, a lot of us, and the resentment that we had, because like in the early 70s, when, for me, I think American Indian movement pretty much opened a lot of people's eyes to our people.
Right.
You know, when they started being strong enough to stand for our rights, you know.
Right.
That was an eye-opener. And so for the time that I lived of being stepped on or, you know, just being shunned and you're not good enough and all that stuff, all of a sudden the division even with our people, the half-breeds, or the full-bloods, they call it, you know, there was contention.
Right.
There was contention there, and all of a sudden there was a time that I felt resentment towards a lot of my classmates or the people, you know, some of my people, because they looked white and mm-hmm. they got by with a lot of stuff, whereas I didn't.
Right.
So in my lifetime, I had to heal through that too, you know, is to say, you know what, they didn't know any better.
Right. So, Chue, how do you feel about the young women that are now part of our government that were just sworn in?
Oh my God, you know, it just goes back to the Cheyenne proverb, is until the hearts of the women are on the ground or something like that, you mm-hmm. know, through life. And I'm glad, you know, that we're going to have that workshop this summer about the sacredness of women, mm-hmm. you know, because there's prophecies that say the women will lead the nation. Mm-hmm. Will lead the people. Mm-hmm. And so it makes me very happy. We're seeing glimpse of changes, I think, you know, and if you look, because we are the life givers, we're the ones that keep life going.
Right.
And so it makes me happy. I just hope, that there's changes out there, and especially the young lady, Alexandra. She probably had her own experiences,
Sure.
And for her to come strong, we have to stand strong.
Uh-huh. Right.
But anyway, with that, I just want to say the ending. If some of you have not seen my website, I wanted to read this last part of where it says, "The realm of the Spirit is so vast and so much bigger than one man, one set of teachings, one holy book, or one religion. The Spirit comes from every direction and within. Every people, person, have something to offer to others. The Spirit is always inclusive, never exclusive." With that, I just want you all to know that every teaching, every tool that you seek and search and find, that is a way to go. But stand with prayer, because the Spirit, your Spirit, is going to be the one that's going to carry you.
Beautiful. Wopila Chue.
So, yeah, but I think next month I'm still going to continue on my topic of walking in two worlds, because I haven't tapped into the emotional part of it and the physical part.
Okay.
And the spiritual part. I think it's a big subject, and with so many people having questions, please, if you have questions, put it on my face page or email me, Facebook me, because I'll be happy to go ahead and answer those questions.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening for the first time, Del Marie's page on Facebook is called Walk a Good Life with Del Marie Dullknife Bradfield. So go on over there, like the page, and as Del said, she's happy to interact with people and exchange ideas and share information.
And then I think we're going to get to a point one of these times where we start learning Lakota words. So when you hang on to those words that really are meaningful, that keep you strong.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, with that, I think have a good day, and like I say, stay with prayer and be strong. Your spirit is there. Rely on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Denise, if you get a chance, can you call me? I'm going to work at 10 o'clock, but I really need to talk with you.
Yeah.
Quick.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, Chue.
Bye-bye.